All right. Hey, welcome back to the Go for CO podcast. You know who I am. So today we're talking about the intersection of storytelling and growth with someone who's mastered both, Jake Isham. From his early days behind the camera as a filmmaker to directing content for entrepreneurs and global brands, Jake has built a creative empire that's generated over 1 billion plus views for his clients. He's collaborated with names like Uncle G, Grant Cardone, Callaway, 511 Tactical, and Travis Matthew, helping each brand turn authentic stories into personal, powerful, and trustworthy, visible action plans. So, welcome to the Go for CO channel. How are you?
Good man. How you doing?
Good, good, man. So, you're my second Jake for the day. So,
Hey, something about us Jakes.
I know, powerful, powerful messages. So, looking forward to this conversation. It's always neat to kind of see where this mastermind of storytelling and things that kind of intercede with each other. As human beings, obviously, we love the story. We love to be shared stories. I just came out with my book, The 4A Formula. There's a bunch of stories of a 12-year-old, a 19-year-old, a 32-year-old. So, I won't say my age now, but excited to be on. So, tell us a little bit about that beginning background, right? How did you, did you come from the entrepreneurial spirit? Have you been placing businesses throughout your life? What's going on, and how did you come up with this creative mind? So,
So I totally fell into marketing. I never planned on being a marketer. I never planned on being an entrepreneur. I very much was an artist, grew up an artist. Very fortunate that both my parents are artists. And it was always like, yeah, being an artist is a viable career. You can go do that. So it was you could say the opposite of the cliche. And I was very much encouraged to be an artist. So from doing music to growing up acting. And then after around the age of 16, I decided, okay, I want to be a little bit more in control of my own destiny instead of waiting for auditions and waiting for callbacks as an actor. I moved behind the camera, went to film school. Then after film school, similarly went, well, what do I do now? How do I make money with this thing? Because, in film school, they don't teach you business, they teach you filmmaking. And that's when I kind of had the harsh reality and I learned, shit, I need to actually learn business. At that time, I started growing my own social media relatively quickly. And people were like, oh, you're like a social media guy. I was like, no, I'm a filmmaker. Again, this fighting of labels, of this labeling, this branding, right? And all of kind of the elements of what I was struggling with my life, I noticed others struggled with the same thing, whether it was marketing, whether it was branding. And at the same time, I kind of had this realization of what PR meant. We know it as public relations. I, for myself, realized it kind of stood more for perceived reality. And so all of these kind of lessons as I learned in my early 20s kind of helped develop to what I became and what I started, which was my agency called Creative Minds, and where we help build brands, help define brands, build brands, and help you gain brand exposure.
it's an interesting voyage, right? Taking parts of the things that you learned throughout your life. Obviously your parents were a big influence for the creative side. I've had brand businesses on the Go for CO channel, so I'm interested to kind of hear another perspective of where you take brands, how you work with clients, and I rattled off a few of the big names you've worked with, but I'm sure it didn't start with the big names. So tell us how creative minds, from an inception standpoint, because it's always a cool journey. Like, who was your first client? How did you market to them? Did you fall into a situation where you knew someone through your background of filmmaking and all of a sudden they engaged you and you're like, oh, this is a business? So take it from there.
I mean, it honestly was so the advice I got from a mentor post college, basically, well, the mentor was my dad. My dad was my first mentor, and he started off as a trumpet player. He was a jazz trumpet player, still is. And when he first started coming up, the advice he got, or they basically what he figured out was to keep a trumpet in his hand. And he had a buddy who was also a jazz trumpet player who drove a cab during the day and only played jazz at night. Like that was the only type of music he would want to play was jazz music. My dad was the opposite in the sense of he's like, great, during the day, whatever pays me that allows me to play trumpet more, I'll do. So he told me stories about like he would play in Chinese funerals where these big march parades in the streets of San Francisco playing trumpet, to the Holiday Inn, to the orchestra, to bigger and bigger names that allowed him to just to play trumpet, while additionally working on his personal craft on jazz music on the side, being his side hustle. But he got paid to practice. And so essentially that was the philosophy that I adopted, which was just get paid to practice, basically taking anything that kept a camera in my hand, rather than going to work at any 9 to 5. I was very fortunate that my parents were very much like, nope, go figure it out and just get paid to practice. So in those first years, I've shot everything. I shot real estate. I refuse to shoot weddings. I don't shoot. I never shot weddings because I was like that. There's no path from being a wedding filmmaker to an actual filmmaker, a Hollywood filmmaker. Now the whole wedding scene has changed, and there's amazing wedding videographers out there that are making cinematic Hollywood type movies, but it was not what I wanted to do. So, I mean, I went through an era of shooting a lot of like product photography and working with very big Amazon brands and got to do that. But then I just kept getting kind of pulled into this personal brand space and working a lot with entrepreneurs, building their own social media content. But yeah, I was always driven by what do I want to shoot as a filmmaker, as a storyteller. I went through an era of shooting a lot of corporate content, doctors, lawyers, etc., just the traditional working with a lot of marketing companies. And then I went, I don't want to do this anymore. And so I then worked with I was like, what do I want to shoot? I want to work with clothing brands. And I was getting into golf at that point. So I went, great, I want to shoot with all the big golf companies. So I worked with Callaway, worked with Travis Matthew, worked with LA Golf, and then a lot of smaller golf companies. But those are, the big boys, got to shoot some spots with them. And I went, okay, great. Well, what do I want to do next? But again, I always kept getting pulled back into this personal branding, doing social media content for the entrepreneur, probably because I relate to him the most of just building that business, building that entrepreneurial spirit, and getting out there.
So look, success leaves clues is always a great quote out there. By doing the things that you did when you said you were pivoting, like, hey, I'm kind of, in this space, but I want to go to this space. And then I'm in this space, I want to go to the golf space. What were some of the things you're doing in that scenario? So if you wanted to get into golf, did you start going to golf events? Did you start just smiling and dialing, calling into?
Yep.
Okay.
I got Travis Matthew. I got Travis Matthew through a cold DM.
Oh, wow.
But that was on Instagram, just DMing. One of the things that has also been successful is build the portfolio, especially in the art content space. It's in every space. It's where's the case study, but where, unlike an advertiser, the case study is the portfolio for my space. And it's like, what have you done? And so there was a handful of golf brands. Well, I remember I was DMing brands and was like, hey, I'll do a free shoot for you. I'll do a free shoot for you. I'll do a free shoot for you. And built up a small portfolio of golf work and got a couple of my golf buddies was like, hey, let's go play around. Can I take this golf glove and just get a couple photos while we're out there? They're like, oh, sure. They're like, okay. And then was able to have a small portfolio of the golf stuff very quickly. And then kind of built it up. Additionally, just reaching out to contents. Hey, I want to shoot more. I got LA Golf through a buddy of mine because I knew he was a golfer. And I was like, hey, I'm just trying to build a golf portfolio. He's like, oh, I'm working with LA Golf right now. You want to just shoot for them? And I'm like, great. Because he knew I could already perform as a filmmaker and as a photographer. So definitely word of mouth, but it takes, I'm a big Alex Hermosi guy. And, that rule of 100, I try to do my best at it. I am by far not perfect at it, but it takes just the reaching out, so much so I got banned on Instagram for a little bit because I was DMing too many people too fast. So, be wary of, if you're doing the rule of 100 on any platform, just know the rules and regulations of that platform, because 100 is a lot for anybody.
Yeah, no, and it's it's one of those perspectives that if you get yourself in front of enough people, the law of numbers works, right? It's 100% going to work. I think people get a fear factor of it, and like I just heard a great the guy that goes up to people and interviews them at their car for they become millionaires if they drive a
How's the
Lamborghini.
Hard Knocks?
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, there you go. That guy. My buddy just actually ran into him in Vegas and interviewed him on his clip, and he said something really cool. He said people are addicted to education and allergic to execution. And what an incredible quote. I'm going to totally put that on a Go for CO sweater or something because I
100%.
loved it. I was like, this 23-year-old dude, like, he just built his brand. And obviously, he just kept on going into people. And some people were like, get away from me, kid, or whatever, right? When he was starting out. But what an incredible nugget that you just left that you were doing we used to call it, I'm a little older, but we called it gophers. Like, hey, go get me this, go get me that. Like, but
Mm-hmm.
Gopher was in the company now. Even if they weren't getting paid, they were getting coffee for someone, but they were listening, they were hearing, they were understanding, like, hey, how could they get into something? But you took it to the next level is you were doing some freemium stuff and then converting that into real opportunities by building that portfolio you did. So awesome, awesome. Well, Creative Minds, right? Cool, name, obviously branding there and stuff like that. What's that first onset of real business that you're getting where a client comes in, they're understanding who you are, they're thinking, okay, Creative Minds can help me with my branding. What was that like? And maybe one or two of those stories of that client journey.
Oh, goodness. Well, because we kind of offer a wide array of like just content solutions for people, and that's why I call us like a creative agency, because we handle the creative within marketing. And so we partner with a lot of marketing agencies, but additionally, when it comes to entrepreneurs like yourself or a lot of your audience, what we do is I'm a big proponent of video podcasts. I think they're the greatest leverage tool right now. They're by far the greatest leverage tool. But I have a very different viewpoint in terms of how do you use a video podcast. Is that, to me, it's elevated networking. So when somebody who wants to work with me and then wants to build a personal brand, is that we define, okay, great, who are you trying to network with? And I kind of put those into three categories, which is prospects, referral partners, or industry leaders. And you leverage the video podcast. And I kind of have three different tiers of podcasts, where you have a remote podcast like this, you have a live in studio podcast, and then what we're now branding is these digital shows, which is kind of the highest elevated version, which is you find a hobby that brand, that entrepreneur loves. For example, I have a commercial real estate broker as a client, and we started just doing vertical videos, really simple, just like, great, tell me this one piece of advice, 30 seconds. Great. And then we built a show because he loves to golf and he's going to go networking on the golf course anyways. And he's going to create content anyways. So we combined all three to create a show called Fairies and Founders, where he networks with a prospect, referral partner, or industry leader. He's playing golf, which he's going to do anyways. And he's going to go do that networking anyways. And he's going to create content. And so our first episode that we did with him did 100,000 views on X when he only has like 600 followers. So, and he gets all the clips from it. And so it continues to go out, and he's building these relationships with these shows. And so it's the goal with each, in my opinion, from a podcast, is that you build these relationships with these prospects, referral partners, or industry leaders that will help make your business more money. And then from there, you can go deeper in that relationship with that person. And that person is supposed to help, in theory, make you money. So, because I learned as an artist, right? I want to get paid to be a filmmaker. Okay. Well, I got to provide value. But what is providing value? You know, you hear this all the time. Provide value, provide value. Well, what does that mean? And I've looked at it as like one of three ways that you can provide value: is entertainment, education, or inspiration from a content standpoint. But from a business standpoint, is that you make them more money. If you're not making your clients more money, they're not going to hire you, regardless of any industry. Like, you take anything, like any business, is that that's how business works in our society, is that you make them more money, or you help solve a problem. And most of the time is, from a B2B standpoint, is that you make them more money. you know, health, wealth, and relationships. I think that's the three. I remember that being like the three things that people pay for: health, wealth, or relationships. And I help make people more money through marketing, through content. So if you're not doing that, it's all vanity. It's all, and so when I work with entrepreneurs, if they want to be a Mr. Beast, I go, great. Look, that's entertainment. There's no ROI in that. Or the ROI is Mr. Beast has been doing this for a decade. As we were talking about right before we started this, about podcasting, Stephen Bartlett saying, if you're not willing to do it for 10 years with no money, then don't do it. Because that's entertainment, rather than, okay, great. If you're doing it from a business standpoint, well, it should make you money. Now, businesses can, startups take 5 years to make a profit, but that's a profit. That doesn't mean income. They need to understand where is the money going to be generated from? How is it going to be generated? And so really looking at the content strategy to make sure it aligns with the business goals.
It's interesting. Each step of how you get into something is so unique, right? From the filmmaking side, from having your dad be a mentor, to then, pushing yourself into a genre of business, which is like golf, and then utilizing that to have this gentleman where now, he's a great client of yours, and you're filming him doing things that he's naturally going to do, but double purposing of them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And creating a third and fourth and fifth and seventh wheel of purpose of him being out on the golf course with a prospective client and creating content, which then makes him an authority because he may talk about something specific or he may share an idea, right? And then it catches something. So really, really cool stuff. Secretively, but I guess not so secret. I'm a commercial banker, right? So my colleagues always mess with me and say, "Hey, well, why are you doing that podcast thing? Why'd you write a book?" Right? And it's the differentiator of me being just like any other commercial banker, right? And
Mm-hmm.
hopefully there's an elevation to commercial banking. It does, get away from the retail side. But the commercial banking, when you're talking strategy, when you're talking capital, when you're talking acquisition finance, when you're talking equipment finance, how am I different than anybody else? It's been interesting. This Go for CO podcast has really differentiated myself, and the book recently that came out, it's been that powerful. So I'm excited. The way you're describing things is really so appetizing, right? Because people need to learn this and grow from a creative minds agency. So let's talk about this gentleman that you obviously have in the commercial real estate space. Has that been a vertical, or has it been someone that you stick with him and then you don't do, you don't work with anybody else in that same industry? Do you take one per industry? Do you take multiples? How did you create and build the brand of creative?
Yeah, it's funny because you could say my avatar, the person, the audience I typically go after is not, I'm not like, oh, one commercial real estate broker and that's it. If more commercial real estate brokers came up, great. I end up working. The funny thing is that I found is that I end up working with a lot of people who are just getting into the content game. That's kind of been the deciding factor. Like, there's a painter that I'm working with, then there's an ex music executive who became a mom, and then now she is kind of revitalizing her career side because her kids are grown, and wrote a book and is being a big speaker. And so I'm helping her with her brand. There's a pianist who I have as a client who working on her brand, and there's all these different types, but the kind of the cohesive factor is these people who don't know what to do in terms of content hire me because there's an aspect of where I'm a coach. I'm a private trainer for content. The same way, you could go to 24-hour fitness and go lift the weights yourself. And all of my clients could set up a camera and do it themselves. Like you have $1,000 plus camera right here in all our hands. I have a $30 light from Amazon and an open window. Yes, I have a fancier camera, but like I've shot many a podcast on my phone because my camera was in the shop or whatnot. So you don't need an agency. You don't need me. I help people because they're like, I don't know what to say. I don't know how to say it. I don't know where to stand. I don't know. I'm not going to do it. As simple as that. Like I'm just not going to make time to do it. And so like you hire a trainer because it holds you accountable. It also gives you ease of mind to know you're doing the right thing. Okay, when you're bench pressing, elbows in, elbows out, and then you get into this analysis paralysis. And so that's kind of been the growing theme, the growing, sentiment with my clients is that it holds them accountable and it just gives them that ease of mind of this person knows what they're doing and I can just do it. Because in my opinion, it's like, look, I don't know if you have a big team or anything like that, but you've done hundreds of podcast episodes by yourself. Like you don't need a team. You don't need someone to help. You only do it to help with the other problems that are going on. YouTube is an amazing place to learn. There's so much free education out there. And so, but sometimes you just want that extra hand holding, and that's why you might call me.
Well, I love it. I mean, look, again, I would say this that chapter 2 of my book talks about alignment, right? Aligning with
Yeah,
like you because you want to go to the next step, right? You're taking an actionable item based on what you've been able to figure out, right? So, and I love the business that you've created, right? As you said, hey, look, there's many digital agencies, creative agencies, this agency, right? And coaches and all that stuff. But how do you stand out? You've been able to form real relationships. And then obviously the work that you do is so impactful or has a true ROI on it that then you get referred and it's word of mouth and you could use marketing as well. And you're out there putting in your own content, stuff like that. So, but I love the description of that actionable step because that's what's created that next level, business for creative minds. So now, creative minds, we were talking a little bit about just, hey, John, is Go for CO, does it have a full staff or creative minds, does it have a full staff? Tell us a little bit about that side. How have you thought about leadership and what you've done to scale creative minds? And I don't know if you work with 1099s or if you outsource projects with vendors, stuff like that. What's some of the ways that you've been able to scale creative minds?
definitely I use a lot of contractors, especially in the creative space. You have a lot of amazing artists who want to be artists, right? And so building these great relationships with other filmmakers, other editors, and being able to work with them. And especially with this kind of rise of AI right now. Look, SaaSes have been around for a while. Like AI is just an advanced version of a SaaS, in my opinion. And so definitely leveraging software, leveraging AI to go, oh, okay, great. How can we make this a little easier? How can we make this a little faster? Can we, one person can run more things than, whatnot. So, you know, I, I'm I'm in an interesting industry where there's that mix of creative and where it's subjective. and you have different specialties in that creation of that content outside of just making the content, and while also balancing all the other departments and divisions of an organization.
Interesting, right? So, and you bring up such a great point. I had another Jake on earlier today that's strictly an AI agency, and really understanding
There you
kind of,
go.
he said a tidbit, a quick nugget that he said, hey, AI should be right now at this point in time used for whatever flow that you're in on a daily basis. Take a chunk of it, and how could AI expedite it and make it faster and take it off your plate so that it frees up that half an hour of work that you used to do out of 8 hours, and now you can multiply it into something else, right? So that's pretty cool stuff. Are you seeing challenging times, for your space? I did see something. I think it was a Land Rover that it kind of created this mountain, climbing type of car, or the car was climbing the mountain and stuff, and it said it was AI generated. So, but I guess the question is, are you seeing some turmoil, right? Of people going, oh, hey, I'm going to figure this out with AI, and not using your agency. Have you seen that in the last 6 months, or are you thinking, that's not probably 24 months away or something like that?
I feel that the guys who want to use AI would never hire me in the first place.
Okay.
The same way the Ferrari dealership is never going to worry about the guys who are going to buy the Toyota Camry or the Honda Accord. You're just like, yeah, they would never buy from me in the first place. They value content in a different viewpoint. But I do have one client who, for example, we're making an AI ad with them, but we're leaning into the meta joke about it. Like, we're literally like, we're too cheap to buy, we're spending our money on an AI ad so that they're a lead gen company. And so it's like, we're spending our money on an AI ad so we can get you the best leads. So we're saving money here so we don't have to charge you a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
And like, so if I'm going to use AI, I'm going to lean into the joke of AI personally. But then that's why I work so much with personal brands, because yes, there's this rise of AI, deep fakes and whatnot, but like, I think it's going to be even more. You look at the rise of even longer form podcasts. I mean, Joe Rogan's been, leading the charge of 3-hour podcasts, but you have Lex Friedman right now, who like a month or so ago just released like a 10.5-hour podcast.
Wow.
Like, literally, just to even film that, like, as somebody who films podcasts, a 10.5-hour podcast, like, did they do it over 2 days? Did they literally go, okay, great, we're going to start at 8 a.m. because realize you got to break for lunch, you have bathroom breaks. Like, I know most of my clients go like, dude, 2 hours of filming and I'm done, bro. Like, they don't want to be in front of a camera for that long. And so a 10.5-hour podcast conversation, I look at the media, like, I look at all the technical sides of that and I go, holy crap, that's unbelievable. But I think there's this world that we're moving into, and is that where people want to be with people. They have AI, and you can see from the media, oh, there's AI revolution. But if you look at the biggest celebrities on the planet right now, they're streamers. They're live streamers. They're living with people. People are watching people who are living real life. Now, look, that's a whole nother commentary about our society, which we're not going to get into. But if you look at, like, because there was this great story of, I forget exactly who said it, but there was this big charity soccer game. Just to go into that point one last time, there was this big charity soccer game, and kind of, you could say, the traditional celebrities came out, the Hollywood-y type celebrities, TV, music, whatnot, and they then the TikTok celebrities kind of came out, and there was more applause. Then the YouTubers, the big YouTube names, came out, more applause. Then the live streamers came out, and the fans went nuts.
Wow.
And it really goes to show, it's like where society is going and valuing that level of personal brand. You know, you look at Joe Rogan and the long form podcasts, and again, politics aside, just from a marketer standpoint, why many believe Trump won the election was because of podcasts, was
Hmm.
because he went on and talked with Joe Rogan for 3 hours. So you got to see what Donald Trump was about. You know, you got to see Elon Musk on Tucker Carlson for like 2 hours or whatever it was, just talking about politics. These long form podcasts where you can't fake it, you can't script like 3 hours. Like you're gonna really know somebody in that amount of time, and that's why again I'm bullish about podcasts. Is just I think it's the best way to build the brand, because then you also have all the clips. Get them to talk naturally, and then just a good editor will know how to clip it up and put it out there. So yes, use AI for that, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, I appreciate you sharing, the insights of how it could be, disrupting, but you also had a very keen sense, right? That client is not your Ferrari buyer or Lamborghini buyer, right? Like
Yeah.
he or she is a Honda Accord buyer, and that's okay, right? There's 8 billion people on the world plus, right? And there's going to be businesses that are, I think it was Hermosi that talked about 9% of people own businesses, right?
Yeah.
That content is meant for those people, and we're segmenting it. Go for CO is getting a little chunk, Creative Minds is getting a little chunk, and we're all going to live well enough, right? And obviously there's competition there and there's collaboration, which I love too, seeing where brands work with each other and stuff like that. So I'll transition into that. What has been some of the collaborative things that you think has really made a difference for Creative Minds? And do you, link on with another brand or another agency and say to yourself, okay, hey, this client needs my expertise in this and yours, and we can both make money at the same time.
Oh, that's half my business. That
Okay.
is literally half my business right there. Is I work with a lot of uh, full service marketing agencies, and they do video and photo, which is me. And I won't say any names, but you know, I'm the shoot team that goes out there. Me and my team are the shoot team that goes out there and makes the videos for the website, makes the videos for the social media under another marketing agency. And yeah, we're part of, you know, mom and pop marketing agency, or I mean, these are not mom and pops, but these are big multi-million dollar marketing agencies, and we help supplement their photo and video teams. And so I'm a very big proponent of collaborations, of partnerships, and as long as it makes sense, and things are agreed upon, things are talked about, and it's an interesting thing in the content world, because it's like, well, what do you want? So having really established that, and then the other half of it is referrals. Yeah, great, send them my way, I'll give you some money. But then also I have great friends where we'll just refer each other work, and it's like, I'll give you one, you give me one, it doesn't matter, we all just want to grow together.
Yeah. Well,
So
that type of mindset, right, is essential, especially when, let's say, resources are limited, right, from a, let's say, money standpoint. When you become resourceful and you take the alignment with other people and other agencies, now you can grow because maybe you were a $500,000 agency and you became a million point two, right, 1.2 million just because of that, right? And it's
mhm.
interesting how that works. And they didn't lose that $700,000 growth. They gained it by multiple of three typically because that was just a segment of what they were able to offer. And now those components stacked onto each other. So really, really cool. Any,
Yeah, there's just to jump in for one last thing on that. It's like, they're able to make more money because they are offering more services that they can charge. And let's say, percentage wise, just keep it really easy. I go down by 50% and they lose 50% by giving it to me. I have now increased my revenue, because I have a whole source of income that I don't have to sell, I don't have to market to, I don't have to remarket to, or anything like that. So great, I'm happy to give that percentage to them. I just handle delivery. I don't even talk to the client. I go everything through them. They Don't have to do anything about delivery. They just go, great, sold. Here you go, Jake. So that's where a true win-win partnership happens, when it makes both of your lives easier and you both make money from it. If it makes your life easier and you're making money from it, that's the way to do it.
Well, and we're both fans of Alex Hormozy, so I hear the demand supply conversation he always has, and you being the supply component on that, and not having to worry about the demand side because you're teaming up with certain agencies that create that supply, and you happen to have that expertise. So, really, really cool stuff. So, obviously, growing the agency, bringing on clientele, working with vendors, having a leadership component and hat to the things that you do. Where is your own marketing? Is it only in that agency, joint venture and word of mouth? Are you doing anything that's outside the box that you could share with our audience?
I mean, it's not sexy, but you know, I've noticed, again, it's the simplicities. You just got to get out there more. So, I mean, as we talked about earlier, you know, doing DMs. That's how I got the golf brands,
Mm.
Instagram DMs from my personal Instagram. They can see my portfolio. This was, and I was just like, great. Hey, I'd love to shoot with you. And then later I go, hey, I have an agency. This is what we do. But that was the easiest. I have a semi small following, nothing big or crazy, but I have it's not 200 followers, and I have a beautiful portfolio on my Instagram. So I do that. I get a lot of clients and prospects through cold emails. I've, again, partnerships. I work with an agency. I tried cold email. I sent out 160,000 cold emails last year and got 0 replies. I went, okay, I clearly do not know what I am doing. And then I left cold email. Then another friend of mine referred me to a cold email marketing agency that he was finding great success with. But it was because I asked him, hey, what are you doing for leads? And he went, I actually just started with this company. They're crushing it for me. I went, great. And so now they're crushing it for me. But that comes from me having asked my buddy who runs a PR agency. So it takes that willingness to just communicate. And whether it's communicating through content, cold email, I mean, there's a million ways. You can pick any of them. And,
Yeah.
I find clients through LinkedIn. But again, I'm the one sitting there doing the messages. There was a great line that I heard. Again, forget who I heard it from, but don't let silence be a no.
Ah, very
And I've kind of adopted that in this last year and a half, was don't let silence be a no, because silence is not a no. A no is a no. But even that, how message them 6 months later, because they won't remember, or they'll be in a whole different headspace, a whole different thing. Like, put them in the CRM, message them back 6 months later or a year later, whatever you're comfortable with. Because there are people that I've messaged, and I look at my friends go through life changes. You could be going through a fucking bankruptcy or whatever right now. 6 months later, boom. I mean, Alex Hormozy is a great story of that. Lost, super high in what was 18 months or something like that, from millions of dollars, nothing, got it all taken from him, back to millions of dollars, all within 18 months. If a marketing agency, a lead gen agency, tried to reach out to him here, they could have closed him. Here, they would not have closed him. Here, they could have closed him. So
mm-hmm.
you never know what that business owner, what that public, that prospect is going through. So don't let no be, don't let silence be a no. And a no is a no right now in business.
So I love that, notion of what you just shared, right? That thought. So I'll ask you, is sales or marketing more important?
I mean, in the long game, you need sales to drive revenue. You need sales to drive revenue. But if you do enough marketing and enough brand building, you don't have to sell. People will walk in and buy. You look at Apple. Those aren't salesmen in the Apple store. They're not selling you. They just go, what model do you want? All right, here's your credit. Give me your credit card. They're not selling you anything. Look at Tesla. They don't even do marketing. Again, what model do you want to buy? Buy it online. Like, you do enough marketing and a correct marketing and enough brand building, people will just buy from you.
Yeah.
So, but to get there, that takes time. That's not an overnight thing. You look at
Mhm.
Alex Hormozy, right? He didn't have to sell his book, but he did $100 million in a weekend, or no, in 24 hours,
Mhm.
something like that. He did $100 million in 24 hours, but it took him, you could say, 5 years of public brand building, but it also took him 15 years of building the skill set to be able to write the book, to then be able to, like, it just takes the time. And that's what marketing just takes time. And I always compare, especially organic social media and brand building, to compound interest. You have to keep depositing it. I mean, you're a banker, you know this better than anybody. It's compound interest. You got to put the little bit of money, put that 10% away, put that $10 away. And the best time to invest was, 10 years ago.
Mhm.
But if you go, oh, I'm going to put a little money here and then I'm going to stop, put a little money in, then I'm going to stop, you're not going to get that wealth that you want at the end of the day. And content is the same way. You got to keep depositing it. Now you can get smarter with it. You can put it in better investment vehicles. There are better investment vehicles in terms of social media. To be going hard on Tumblr right now, or MySpace, maybe not the best investment vehicle.
Yeah.
Going hard on TikTok, going hard on YouTube, going hard on LinkedIn, depending on, again, these are better investment vehicles. So you got to keep depositing it, and then you don't have to worry about anything. Same way you can retire from sales, you can retire from money, you can retire from sales because you've built that brand.
I love it. I love it. No, it's such a interesting topic, right? And different people have different ways of looking at it, but I think the culture is understanding that you get your brand out there, you get your messaging out there, you have your consistency of touch points, right? Still human beings that we're dealing with. As you said, if they would have touched in that 18 months 7 times, which is the average that it takes for Alex or me or you to even notice someone, a 7 time touch, right? And then all of a sudden you hit them at the right time. It's definitely part of the sales and marketing, right? So I love that stuff. So look, as we end our interviews on the Go for CEO podcast, we like to go over C for client experience, E is for engagement, and O is for operational excellence. So from a client experience, if you could give a 60-second value proposition for creative minds, what should a client expect from their experience with creative minds?
Got me on the spot here. Is care, speed, competence, and expertise.
Okay. I love it. I love it. Care, speed, competence, expertise, and what?
I think that, yeah, I mean, competence and expertise are a little bit in the same,
Okay.
but I look at it from the standpoint of, we really care about you growing. you know uh speed speed wins the game.
Yeah.
Why Amazon is Amazon is because, yeah, 2-day delivery, 1-day delivery, same day delivery. Like, it's easier for you to get Amazon than it is even to go to a Walmart or Target or Costco, whatever. That's why they win, because of speed. Expertise I look at from the standpoint of, we know the marketplace, we know what's going to work, and competence, being able to execute on that. We
Love it.
can, just because you know about the marketplace, if you can't execute on it, it doesn't matter.
It's interesting on the speed one. I just read an article where Walmart is growing market share because they had already laid brick and mortars everywhere. which is what Amazon's trying to do with these big, humongous warehouse distributions, right? So they're, although they went fast, but it's interesting this, I won't go too into it, but I read something where Walmart now is picking up market share and then picking up market share because, like you said, that there's a Walmart down the street. They figured like, oh wait, people aren't going to come to us. Why don't we just deliver it to them, right? So and make it.
100%.
So it's an interesting concept. So all right, so engagement, from your perspective, when people deal with Jake, they're a vendor of yours, a contractor, they're a client, they're a JV that you're working with on a, joint venture. What is it that you do to engage with people? Is it dinners? Is it golf? Is it what do you like to do from an engagement standpoint?
I mean, just be a human being. It is as silly as that sounds. There are so many people who honestly, you could say, act as NPCs because they just are so robotic and so just on circuits and just like, okay, oh, you don't want to talk? Like, just, I'm a big FaceTime guy. I will FaceTime my friends rather than call or text. And they're like, dude, I can't talk. I'm like, I'm going to FaceTime you. Like, I'm a big Zoom guy. If you want to get coffee, I'm coffee. Like, if you want to go do something, great. But I'm a big proponent of like face to face because things can get so mistranslated, even just over the phone or on a phone call. You're like, I can't tell with that tone how you're feeling. But if you could see a person's face, you can go, he's upset. He's not liking this. He's like you can actually gauge like their indicators. Rather, like if they keep going like, hey bud, I see you're like, are you stressed out about something? You worried? He's like, yeah, man, I got a 2 o'clock. Well, shit, get out of here. Stop talking to me. Go, go, go. Like,
Yeah.
rather than you hear the person like, hey, I gotta run. Okay, but like, oh, did I upset them? Did I like, no, you didn't do anything. They're just stressed out about, their child is crying.
Yeah.
And that's why I say that aspect of just being human.
I love it. I love it. Well, that's one of the best answers I've heard because, ultimately, there is a lot of, natural things that we sway into. Breaking bread is always a big deal with eating with someone and all that. But just
I'm a
the,
big foodie. I can always go eat with someone.
yeah, me too. Me too. I'm the cook in my house. So, um,
Likewise.
awesome. Well, operational excellence, right? When you think about creative minds and what you do on a daily basis, are there any tools that you could share with us that really help you from an operational standpoint and how you deliver the goods that you do?
Oh God, I mean, there's so many. I mean,
Three.
I'll go through them super quick. Chat GPT is I'm any AI, Grok, Perplexity. I'm a Chat GPT guy. They're all the fucking same, in my opinion. But it's amazing for research. I mean, it's the new Google, in my opinion, to be able to just to like get the information faster. I don't have to like then click a link to go find something like,
Yeah.
hey, what about this? How do I do this? How do I scale this? Like, to me, that's my MBA now. Like, I have 6 MBAs, in my opinion, because I have Chat GPT. I can always just get those answers on marketing, higher questions that I would ask mentors. I have Chat GPT to at least get me going. CapCut as an editing program is simple. You don't have to overthink it. It's great. I've seen the growth of whatchamacallit, whatever, I forget the exact name of it, but there's a lot of different these AI clip editors. They're getting better and better.
Mhm.
Opus Clips is one that's really good. They're getting better and better. I think they're not amazing. They're not like replace an editor amazing, but from a speed standpoint,
Yeah.
like especially if you're just getting going, if you're just starting like, okay, great, let me start a podcast. I don't know what I'm doing. That's great. Riverside is great, or Zoom is great for these podcasts. Riverside's a little bit more elevated because it gives you a little bit more control over it. I mean, if you want to get higher level into editing, DaVinci is free, which is a fantastic editor. I use Premiere just because I know the world. What other tools? I'm a Slack guy. I'm a Notion guy. But otherwise, freaking cell phones, man. Greatest tool out there. You can do everything on a cell phone. That's
Yeah. When you,
why they're called small smartphones.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've come from the generation that had the big screen with the back that was about this big.
Oh
Uh,
yeah, with the push-in VHS player, the built-in VHS player.
Right, compact presarios, man. They were the stuff. So
Oh yeah.
it's interesting. And the internet or ding ding, so the dial-up stuff. So
Hey,
uh,
well, dial up.
interesting stuff, man. Well, hey Jake, thank you so much for coming on the Go for CEO channel. Tell everybody how to get a hold of you, where you're most active, how they could DM you, right? And engage with you and get some business done with you.
LinkedIn is great. It's absolutely fabulous. I mean, I'll give you the link so that if you guys are interested in working with me, you can definitely just check out the site and we'll set up a call. Again, I do these free calls. I'm not a sales guy. I'm a filmmaker turned into agency owner. At the end of the day, I just love creating content. So if you want to see what it would be like to create a show with.
Got
So if you're an entrepreneur who's like wanting to build a personal brand and maybe create a digital show, create a video podcast, the link will be in the description, I'm assuming, John. And feel free to reach out. It's literally like we'll create a show on a call. At the end of the day, I'm just a filmmaker. I'm not a salesman. I just love creating content and I love working with entrepreneurs and helping get their message out there.
We'll Go for CEO channel. If you haven't subscribed, subscribe to the channel, but
Oh,
also
100%.
feel the passion, right? Feel the understanding of what Jake really brings to the table. That's why I love he said, hey, if you're a Honda owner, good for you. I'm a Ferrari. You could do with me if I'm the Ferrari that you like. So I love it. So thanks, Jake, for coming on. Looking forward to your interview being on our podcast. And when we display that, sharing it with eclipse and all that type of stuff. And we'll be connected on LinkedIn. So any other last words as far as just a quick wisdom? Because, the solopreneur mindset into business and using your passion is so key. Any last keywords?
Building a brand takes time, and no better time to start than now. Even if you start depositing content once a week, once a month, you can always get better. The only way to get better is by doing it. So start now, get better today, and you'll grow into something beautiful.
Don't be an addict to education and allergic to action. All right.
Exactly.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much, Jake. Have a great one.